race, and then Simple got his revenge last year. Maybe it'll just keep going every other. Maybe JN takes this one for the first time ever.
Looks like both of these are ready to start, and we're underway. So here we go in the Zelda 2 All Keys Tournament 100% Championship round. First order of business is they're going to go to this dark cave right here to pick up their first magic container of 4 extra. They'll have 8 units of each magic and life by the end of this race. What they're going to be hoping for is to get that 50-point P bag. It's a 1 in 8 chance from the small drop group, 7-8 chance that they're going to get that blue jar that refills 1 unit of their magic meter. Let's see if either of these players get the P bag. Ooh, simpoldood gets the P bag, but Projet does not.
Yeah, that's a big deal for simpoldood right there, but Projet will still have a chance to get to attack level 4 coming out of Palace 1. He's got a 25% chance now to get 2 P-bag drops of the big category.
Yeah, whereas simpoldood has a 75% chance because all he needs is one of the 2 200-point P-bags coming out of Palace 1, which we'll explain when we get to that point of the game. The first town of the game, this is the town of Rauru, or Shield Town, as the players commonly like to call it, because they're going to get the Shield spell, the first spell of the game. And what it does is when you use it, you get a nice red tunic, but more importantly, it decreases the damage you take down to 1/2. But of course, you're only going to be able to use that for the screen that you're on. So if you want to use it on another screen, you got to cast that spell again.
Yeah, that's how it goes for every single spell, unfortunately. There are a few times in Palace 6 where you'd like to have the jump spell multiple screens in a row. But for the most part, these two guys probably only going to cast Shield once or twice. Once against Thunderbird and maybe once against Guma. I don't expect them to take too many hits, too much damage throughout the run.
All right, so no problems with the first encounter here. Projet and simpoldood, they are pretty much neck and neck right now. So the separation that we might see between the two of them, again, it could come down to that attack power, because optimally you want to come out of the first palace with attack 4, but Projet only has a 25% chance, whereas simpoldood has a 75% chance. And if it does boil down to that, you're going to see the difference take place when they get to Death Mountain, if that boils down to it. Projet is able to not get the skip, so he falls behind. Simpoldood does get this bubble skip here, so he's going to take the early lead right here.
Yeah, Jayon got a pretty bad pattern with a random walking onto the path before he got to the bubble encounter. Simple losing his beam sword to one of the boomerangs, so that will play a little bit of a role in Palace 1. However minor, it still does cost some time to not be with beam sword throughout Palace 1.
Meanwhile, Projet was able to get out of that screen without taking damage from that Gorilla, so he still has his beam sword. Now, while it's nowhere near as good as having the beam sword in Zelda 1, it's still something you want to have for enemies like, say, bots.
Yeah, bots and the skull bubbles. In here, there's a couple screens that it's useful on.
So here we are at the first palace of the game. This is the Parappa Palace, and in here they're going to be getting the candle. And of course, what the candle does, they're not going to get this normally when they do their any percent runs. They're going to play this game entirely in the dark when they go into those caves and caverns and whatnot. But of course, since this is 100% all keys, you got to collect all the items, all the magic containers, all the heart containers, both sword upgrades, all the items. So, yep, you're going to get this candle. It's going to light the way when you reach those caves.
And we had our first of what will be many high fives, I'm sure, throughout this race in that very first key room.
Yeah, and I still expect this race. Yep, and I still expect this race to be close the entire way. Unfortunately, Projet just took a hit from that bot, and they still hit pretty hard on life 1. You lose a full unit of health getting hit by those. So you really got to be careful with these weaker enemies, because Iron Knuckles, while these players know how to handle Iron Knuckles, they can take a lot of damage if you're not careful with them.
Yeah, I believe bots take 1 full bar of health when they're in the palace. In the overworld, they only take a half bar at life 1. And then skull bubbles take a half bar of life when you hit them at life 1. And pretty much everything else in this palace takes a bar and a half. So, with only 5 bars of life, you do have to be slightly careful going through this whole thing. And we see
having a little trouble.
Yeah, that's pretty significant because he got hit by that tin suit, and he just lost 10 experience. And I'm not sure 100%, but simpoldood typically doesn't like to skip the Stalfos. I think he did this time just for safety's sake, because he should have had an attack level right there.
This Doomerang will give Projet a little bit of trouble, but he does take him down for the 50 XP.
So since Simple did skip the 2 Stalfos, he's going to get an extra 20 XP, and that's why we jump over these guys. It shifts the 6 drop to a different enemy, so instead of getting a drop on a 50-point enemy, you get it on a 30-point enemy, and therefore 20 more experience points. In a normal speedrun, Simple usually doesn't skip those, and he just kills a few more bots to make up the difference. But I guess in this race, he wants to guarantee, well, give him that much better of a chance to get that attack 4 going into Death Mountain.
Right, 30 experience points is the minimum amount of experience points an enemy will have if you want to get the large drop. It's a 50-50 chance that you're either going to get the 200-point P bag or a red jar that's going to refill your entire magic meter. So this is going to be a crucial stage of the game for Projet, and he's hoping to get both P bags so that he gets out of here with attack 4. simpoldood only needs one of the 2 P bags to get attack 4 because he was able to get the 50-point P bag out of the dark cave.
Yep, and the room before this candle pickup, you saw Simple killing a couple extra bots, one for safety and one just for that extra little bit of experience because he got hit by that tin suit, to make sure, 100% sure, that he's got that opportunity if he gets a 200-point drop. Jan took life 2 there, and optimally, you leave this palace.
Ooh, an early death for simpoldood by the bots. Wow, he is down 1 life early. Yikes. That's going to put Projet in the lead.
Oh yeah, and that was at the end of the room, probably the worst spot to take a death right there. But these guys, these things are unpredictable. Even with the top players on the planet, they have no clue where those bots are going to go at any time.
And unfortunately for Projet, he will not get attack 4 as he got a red jar out of that Stalfos. So attack 4 is out of play now for Projet. simpoldood can still get attack 4. In fact, he just got it right there with that 200-point P bag from the Stalfos.
Yep, so, JN is ahead right now, and Simple will be catching up a little bit throughout Death Mountain. Of course, all the overworld walks will play a huge role in determining who gets there first and who makes up how much time and where and whatnot. But the big thing for JN, Attack 3 Death Mountain isn't going to be that huge of a deal for him, but the big time loss is actually going to be in Palace 2.
Right.
Because you're just not going to have that much experience points, and you have to kill extra enemies in there. And all that sword play takes time, instead of just bouncing over them with your downstab.
Horsehead goes down quickly for Projet, worth 50 experience points. simpoldood, no problem with Horsehead himself. So both of these players have completed Palace number 1. It's an 8:23 crystal placement for Projet. Let's see what kind of time simpoldood is going to have. Looks like it's 8:31, so 8 seconds of a lead for Projet coming out of Palace 1.
Yep, and then we'll make our walk to the trophy cave and then on to Jump Town.
Yes, indeed. They'll pick up this trophy coming up in this cave, which kind of looks like the top of a Christmas tree ornament that you pick up, one of those angels that you put on the top of a Christmas tree. That's what the trophy reminds me of in this cave right here coming up.
I guess that's as good a comparison as any.
Of course, more importantly, what they're going to do with that trophy, as you said, they're going to take it to Jump Town. The town of Rudo is what it's called. They'll get the jump spell, and it'll allow them to jump, I think, twice the height that they normally jump?
Yeah. And these guys pretty much flawless all the way through. We'll see Simple skipping the kill on this Guerilla. Just kind of slides into a ducking position to pick up the trophy, and then even as Link is holding up the trophy, a boomerang will hit you in the legs, but if you're ducking as you pick it up, you'll remain in that position, and actually your ankles will the boomerangs for some reason.
That's a very interesting thing. I did not know that. So that's a pretty interesting strategy. Kneel when you pick up items, and any projectiles that come at your ankles, you deflect them. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it even works in the palaces. Like if you're in Palace 4 or 5 picking up the item and don't kill the blue iron knuckle, you can slide into the item from the opposite way while ducking, and you'll still be able to block those things. It's not really practical, but just something neat.
So here we go. Projet does get the jump spell, and unless you're good at glitching, you definitely need it for the cave coming up right after this town.
Yeah, it is possible to get through the jump cave without the jump spell, but luring the Eggman towards the cliff that you need to jump up to is tedious and slow and fairly difficult to get that damage boost just right, so might as well just pick up the jump spell.
And no question about it right here, and Projet is the first to that cave, and he's got about the same lead that he had after coming up Palace 1. We're going to see, though, simpoldood gain a little bit of ground with that attack 4, and the reason why he'll gain some ground is that enemies in Death Mountain will take fewer hits on attack 4, and that's how simpoldood will gain some ground. But again, Projet is more than adept of taking care of Death Mountain with his attack 3.
Oh yeah, you just saw one example of taking a bit fewer hits. Simple only requires 3 hits on these red gorillas, while JN took 4. Now one of the critical walks to start the game, the walk to Bagu.
Yes, indeed. You want to try not to get any encounters, especially on the swamp. Furthermore, you got to be careful of fixed encounter tiles that surround Bagu's house. You don't want to be hitting one of those. And perfect walk for Projet, and simpoldood not so lucky.
Yeah, simpoldood got a spawn right in front of him as soon as he entered the swamp, and when you're in the swamp, you're pretty much at the mercy of the encounters. There's not really all that much you can do to avoid them. But one encounter to Bagu is pretty good. It's still pretty good.
It's not all that bad, so simpoldood. Now, the reason why you got to talk to Bagu is they're going to get to this next town here, the Life Town, or the town of Saria, and there's a couple things you need to do. You're going to go into a house here, just some random house, and you're going to pick up this mirror, and it's one of the few pieces of dialogue that you hear Link say in the entire Zelda franchise, not counting the CDI games. And what you're going to do with that mirror is you're going to return it to this woman here that needs it for, I don't know what kind of reason, probably to make sure that she's looking glamorous. And your reward is the next spell of the game, which is the life spell. What the life spell does is it refills 3 full bars in your life meter, and you're going to see these players use it quite often because, again, these enemies pack quite a punch, especially on life 2.
I don't know about quite often with these two guys, but for normal noobs like me, yes, quite often for the life spell. A 16-second lead for Projet as he's going to be coming out of the town of Saria and into Death Mountain. Yeah, so typically about 6 seconds is what you figure a random encounter costs you when you're walking through the overworld. And if it's a swamp encounter, it's going to be a tiny bit more. So an 8-second gain from his walk to Bagu versus Simples, yeah, that sounds about right. You know Bagu? Yeah, oddly enough, talking to the Riverman, you are forced to listen to his whole speech. It's the only one on the game. Yep, that is correct. You have to go through the entire speech for that guard. No skipping him, so trying to take a shortcut, that guard won't let you. Well, I guess all the old men that gives you spells, you have to listen to those idiots too, but that's true. They're teaching you something at least. Yeah, that's correct. Anyways, Death Mountain, and this is exactly what simpoldood didn't need to be doing, and that's taking damage against these weaker enemies. And right now, Projet still has his beam sword coming out of the first few caves. Nicely done, taking care of those Octoroks. Yeah, this cave with the aches, the little bats, it's pretty critical to have that beam sword to get through there fairly cleanly. Fortunately, not quite clean. And here's the enemies that were the bane of everybody's existence playing Zelda 2 growing up, the Dairas. Yep, the orange Dyra for JN takes 5 hits. It'll only take 3 for Simple. Simple taking some uncharacteristic damage. Very interesting. I wonder if the nerves are getting to him or it's just kind of an off day for him.
Could be one or the other.
He gets a couple double hits on the orange Dyra and gets rewarded with a nice red jar.
Yep, and the red Dyra is the ones that are more dangerous because they're throwing axes at you worth 100 experience points, and they do a lot of damage. So you definitely have to time those axe throws correctly if you want to make sure you get through those encounters unscathed. Speaking of not unscathed, Aches don't care what kind of enemies you can take care of. They're going to just troll you all day.
Yeah, Aches are probably the second most annoying enemy in this game next to bots. Here comes JN, gonna kill all the bits for Rep, because Rep hates bits. Come on, get them all, JN.
Yep. And let's see if he can get a P-Bag. Yes, he does. He needed that P-Bag to Projet. That's going to get him 200 points closer. Boy, did he need that.
He missed one bit. Rep is furious, and Simple skipped one. Oh, my word.
Yep. Well... And the reason why it's good to get the 200-point P-Bag, you're going to get this red jar right here that's going to refill all your magic anyway. So when you get to that Dyra before the red jar, you're hoping to get that P-Bag. And hey, speaking of P-Bag, Simple Dude also getting a P-Bag from that Dyra before getting this magic, which guess what? Simple doesn't even need. Well, he's going to use it now to refill everything. So hey, why not? So Simple's back to full everything.
Yep, and JN with attack 4 gets the beam wrap on that Aikman. Semi-swag strat.
The double play by J-Hen on those enemies right there. That was well played against those Magmots.
Yeah, the jumping humpers or cats, as other people call them.
Right.
Another annoying enemy.
All right.
Pretty important to have your beam sword in that room as well. If you time it just right, you can hit both of them and then keep going through that third one without stopping.
Neither player getting trolled by that spiky Mew. And I've seen players fall into that lava because of that spiky dude right there. Projet getting a red jar. And I guess he needed it. He was down to just 1 bar of magic, so he'll be happy to pick that up.
He probably would have rather seen a P-Bag there.
Well, speaking of no P-Bags, no P-Bag for Simple Dude from that Dyra either. So fair game in that hammer room. The hammer, of course, is the treasure that you pick up here in Death Mountain because you needed to crush down the boulders that are in your way throughout the path in Western Hyrule. Plus, you'll need it later to uncover a hidden town that, without the hammer, you'd have no chance of discovering.
Yeah, hammer, for some reason, chops down trees as well. Interesting to note, Simple Dude, 700 experience and an extra magic level ahead of Projet right now. So when I was saying it's going to be Palace 2, that's actually going to be the bigger time crunch. This is exactly why. Because we got to get to Tax 6 coming out of Palace 2.
You are correct about that, Dan. And there is the next magic container picked up by Projet that puts him at 6 units of magic. Again, they'll be looking at having 8 units of magic by the end of the game. And Projet doing the risky strats, not going into that cave to guarantee no encounters. Sometimes you get trolled by that. Simple Dude getting a favorable.
Yep. The traditional way is to walk back into the hammer cave and then duck back into the second cave, and that guarantees no encounters will spawn and you won't get any other encounters. Simple and JN have kind of set it up where you take a little bit of a pause so that you spawn the encounter on a certain musical note that you're expecting, and then you can walk all the way, and if you get a favorable spawn, you can get all the way there guaranteed. But if you don't get a favorable spawn, you can always duck back into that second cave and not really lose all that much time.
I tell you what, Simple has gained some time on Projet. That lead is cut to now 8 seconds when they got to that second screen of the bridge.
Wow, that surprises me a little bit. Simple had a fairly rough Death Mountain, but I guess that...
Oh, and getting trolled by that fairy spawn, he has to take an encounter on the road. And that could affect Simple Dude trying to complete what is called Boulder Dash. Projet is successful.
Yeah, so Simple wanted to... He tried to move up to bait the encounters.
I see what Simple decided to do. He decided to get the 1-up first. Okay, that's a safe play.
That's pretty safe. That's pretty good improvisation there. But he moved up one tile to bait the encounters and just happened to take an encounter one tile north of where he actually wanted to. And JN got it correctly and spawned 2 encounter spawns on the same tile. And since those were fairly far apart, he was able to walk all the way to the cave without encounters.
Yep. Both these players picking up the water of life, or the medicine as some people like to call it, because they're going to need it for the next town of the game, the town of Mito, or Fairy Town. And Projet's going to go ahead and pick up his 1-up doll, which simpoldood has already picked up, and he's hoping that he gets no further encounters. Boy, a little bit of trolling there, but he's able to dodge him successfully. So there's a few pieces of business here in the town of Mito, Fairy Town. There's, obviously, you get the fairy spell, but also you get your first sword technique of the game, the downward stab, and it's such an OP thing to have. Why is that, Dan?
The jackhammer.
That's exactly it. That's all you need to know is the jackhammer. What Dan means by that is, especially in palaces where the items are guarded by blue iron knuckles, you can do a move that's called either the yak hammer or the jackhammer, and what it does is if you do it correctly, you could just thrust the enemy with your sword to its death quick spell. That's what the purpose of the downward stab is.
Yeah, the game is set up in such a way that each time you swing your sword, that's going to count for 1 hit if you connect. So a standing stab or a ducking stab, you have to... It all takes a certain amount of time to actually put your sword out and then recoil and bring it back in. So, but the down stab, if you're in the air and you get inside an enemy's hitbox and you just start mashing down as hard as you and fast as you can get multiple hits in minimal time. So it's a very important technique to have once you face blue iron knuckles, and also once we get to Palace 6 boss Barba. Hopefully we'll see some jackhammer strats.
Yep, and now what Projet has done, he's going to return that medicine to that old lady here, and his reward will be the fairy spell. And the fairy spell is required in a few spots in this game because there are some hard-to-reach places coming up where it's impossible to get to even with your jump spell. So you've got to have the fairy spell, turns you into a fairy, and it allows you to fly to harder-to-reach places. But there's, of course, a couple of downsides. One is that you can't do any attacks while being as a fairy, and 2, you can't pick up items as a fairy either. Well, you can pick up items, you can't pick up keys, though.
Correct. You can't pick up keys or jars. Anything that is required to stab, you cannot pick up as a fairy. But other items, such as the heart container that Projet is about to get, or the glove or the raft or boots or whatever else, you can pick that up as a fairy, and it actually skips Link's hold up and show the world the item he just found animation. Saves about 2.5 seconds.
Yep, you're right. And speaking of saving seconds, Projet has increased his lead on simpoldood again, and that was, again, thanks to the boulder dash situation where Projet got through it cleanly. Simpoldood had some problems, so that's the reason why Projet's back to that lead that he had before coming out of Mito Town.
Yeah, simple ducking into the cave early to pick up the 1-up. It's actually optimal to pick up that 1-up coming out of the cave because it sets up your encounter walk a little bit better.
Yeah, that's right. Projet having a great swamp walk, the Maduro swamp. Perfect walk for Projet. The pressure's on simpoldood as we go to the second palace of the game, the Maduro Palace. Man, that was a great swamp walk by Projet, and simpoldood is going to play it safe, take the encounter on the road.
It's perfectly fine. Hopefully he'll get a random walk here, and he does. So, half encounter for Simple, no encounters for JN. They actually both got a similar encounter pattern with a fairy spawn as the second spawn in the grass, which allowed them to walk through the first set of road tiles through the swamp without an encounter. And
it was amazing.
Simple took one less step through the grass, and because he got that fairy spawn, he wound up having to take one extra step to set up the encounters correctly, and that one extra step spawned a big encounter that he just kind of said, you know what, I'm next to the road. I'm just gonna take this encounter right here, my half encounter. I'm gonna save my, 3 or 4 seconds versus a swamp encounter. So both great swamp walks, great palace entries.
By the way, the rich just got richer. Simpoldood got yet another 200-point P-bag from that Doom Rattler, so he's getting very close to getting attack 5, whereas Projet stands about 600 experience points behind him.
Yeah, we'll see JN kill a couple more Stalfos and Orange Iron Knuckles than Simpoldood will. But right now, how it's set up with JN at 412, both of them are going to finish this palace with attack 6.
No question about it. So the item in Maduro Palace, by the way, this second palace of the game, is the Magic Glove. And what the Magic Glove does is that it powers up your sword by enabling you to break blocks. And you'll see the first kinds of blocks that you're going to be breaking through here. There's a room that guards this Magic Glove that can be a pain in the rear coming in. Well, speaking of rooms that are a pain in the rear, Projet is in this room right now with these bots. So far, so good.
Professional low beam.
Beautiful, yes.
That first bot.
That was Immaculate. That's how you do that room without casting the fairy spell, ladies and gentlemen. Projet just showed you. Now let's see if Simpoldood can do the same. Beautiful. So far, so good. One more bot. Yeah, he's got it.
Those bots for Simple just kind of stood still, like they were mesmerized at how
Yes.
good he is at the game.
I think that's exactly what I was about to say there, Dan. Yeah, I think those bots knew that Simpoldood was coming to say, huh, just stay right here. Oh, you're Simpoldood. Hey, can we get your autograph?
And Simple skipping those 2 Orange Iron Knuckles right away. He's going to be getting his attack 5, at least on this first red Iron Knuckle in the glove room. And the glove, one of the most important items in the game, required for every category that this game has, including the heavily glitched any percent.
Not to mention that it's almost always required when you're playing Zelda 2 Randomizer as well. Yeah, that Magic Glove in this game is like having the ladder in Zelda Randomizer.
Simple doing a neat little trick here, jumping towards these Iron Knuckles and casting Fairy while he's in the air.
I love it. That red Iron Knuckle is so terrified of fairies, and then they just bonk into each other like that. That was amazing by Simpoldood.
Yeah, because Iron Knuckles, the red and orange variety at least, are programmed to read your controller inputs, and when you cast Fairy in that state of jumping towards them and holding so he was holding left there. If you're holding that and cast Fairy at the same time, it keeps you in that state, so they keep on reading that controller input as, hey, he's jumping at me, I have to back up.
Yep, exactly. That's one way. That's manipulation right there, and it's definitely allowed in this category. And there is attack 5 on Projet side of the board, and he's still going to be in good shape to have attack 6. It's just that his magic in life is going to be a little bit lower than he probably would like to have it, because to get to life 3, you need 150 points, and with the next boss of this game, Helmet Head being worth 200 points, Projet's there.
Yeah, he could honestly take another magic level here. It would cost him a little bit of time and having to kill a couple extra Iron Knuckles, but if he wanted to, Magic 2 is guaranteed right now. But again, it's only if he wants to. There's plenty of experience in Palace 3 that you can load up on, so you don't really need to take the levels here. He could if he chose to. And actually, with that life cast, it looks like when he kills this Doom Rattler coming up, he's going to be taking that magic level.
Yep, you are absolutely right, Dan. He goes ahead and decides to take Magic 2 right now. So in order to get to Magic 3, you need 300 points. So he just needs to kill a couple more enemies, and he's still good to get attack 6 coming out of this palace. Whereas Simpoldood, however, currently has life 3. To get life 4, you need 400 points. So again, both these players are in good shape to get attack 6 coming out of Palace 2, just as long as they don't level up incorrectly.
Yeah, hitting down at the wrong time can certainly be very, very costly. Not that I would know from being in a race or anything like that and doing that.
Boy, what a beautiful helmet head fight by Projet, and they had no chance at all, Dan. That was amazing by Projet. And let's see what his time is going to be coming out of this pass. And simpoldood likewise, boy. Helmet head had no chance against either of these players tonight. 29-46 for Projet N.
That was basically a mirror image of the fight against Helmet Head. I'm pretty sure Simple actually was just restreaming Projet N's channel at that point.
He's currently 9 seconds behind, and Projet was just able to get on the road before taking that encounter here in the swamp, and that looks like nope, takes one more encounter as Projet. So chance for simpoldood. Unfortunately, he takes an encounter in the swamp, which is exactly where you don't want to take that encounter.
Yep. Swamp exit is always one of the more volatile spots on the run.
Ooh, and another encounter in the swamp by Simple.
No, I believe that was the number 3 tile to the right of the road there, which is actually the correct tile to set up what's called the Tomb Walk. He might be able to get to King's Tomb unscathed right now.
He might be going for it.
Took a couple extra steps so that he would avoid spawning the encounters in the grave, and then took the encounter on the road one tile north and west of King's Tomb, which gets you to the hole that you have to drop through.
By the way, that's the fairy spell I was talking about, hard to reach spaces. You just saw Projet and simpoldood go through that tight spot high up. Without the fairy spell, you can't get there. So here we are in the third palace of the game, the Island Palace, and the item to get here is the raft. And hopefully for both of these players' sakes, they'll only need to use that raft once, because what it does, its lone purpose is to take you from Western Hyrule to Eastern Hyrule.
Yes, that would be pretty tragic for anybody speedrunning this game to have to use the raft a second time. So for the rules of the race, we typically speedrun this game 1 CC, which means 1 credit clear. In a race setting, we kind of have a little bit of a backup, a little bit of leeway, which honestly we're not going to see in this race. But if you were to game over for some reason at some point, the rule is that you have to go back to that exact spot, and then so you start over at Northern Hyrule, you have to walk back to the exact spot that you game overed, and then continue on. Kind of forces people to play it honestly and not Death Warp or Death Abuse, like from Death Mountain or something like that.
Yep, that's exactly what that means. If they were to take a game over, they have to go back to the screen where they took the game over before they could continue in their progress.
Simple missed the 4-tile wide jump. Also fairly uncharacteristic of him.
Projet has a pretty decent lead right now on simpoldood. It was 9 seconds coming out of Palace 2, but I believe that has increased. And again, the reason why Projet has kept the lead he's been given is simpoldood has just been having bad luck with encounters so far, which is absolutely not like simpoldood. But hey, it just goes to show it can happen to anybody, Dan.
Yeah, encounters are always going to be the sticking point to getting a really good run on here, but I mean, you gotta hand it to JN. His execution has been absolutely on point with everything so far. Even with Attack 3 Death Mountain and having to kill extra enemies in Palace 2, he's going all out and he's doing a great job. And Simple is doing everything he can to catch up. And so far, just not quite there.
Nope, Projet has not made the mistake that he needs to make for simpoldood to catch up. And that's the room that it could have happened. It was that dangerous bot and lava room right there with the blocks. I mean, we've seen a lot of deaths happen in this room throughout the tournament, and it didn't happen to Projet. So he's going to keep his lead in Palace 3. Now, the boss of this game, the boss of this palace is Reba, and he's worth, yes, folks, this is not a typo or anything like that. It's 301 experience points. And simpoldood, unfortunately, can't get the red jar out of that statue.
The never jar. You never go for that jar because it never pops out.
Well, I'm surprised it didn't pop out for simpoldood, but hey, game doesn't care who's playing this game right now. I mean, simpoldood, yes, he's the world record holder, but hey, and it's the championship tournament, but hey, the red jars don't want to spawn. They don't have to spawn for either of these players, so that's just the way it goes.
So how the drops work is there's three different groups. A group of enemies that don't drop jars or pea bags, and then there's a small group that drops 50-point bags and a blue jar, and then there's the big drop group that drops the 200-point bags and the red jar. I'm not 100% sure where simpoldood is at. You have to kill 6 in the respective counters to get a drop. He may be set up for a red jar drop on this final red iron knuckle coming up right here.
Well, here comes Reba Knack on Projet's side, so you gotta knock off this blue iron knuckle from his blue mechanical horse and then try to downward stab him to death. And that was a immaculate fight for Projet. It's just been coming up roses for him so far in this race.
Yeah, that's the typical setup for the Reba Knack fight. Simpoldood's going for a little quicker fight here.
And he does a pretty good job as well, but Projet is going to come out of Palace 3 at 35 minutes and 38 seconds. So Projet's going to believe, trolly little encounter, but he still manages to get by it without taking an encounter penalty there. So very well dodged by Projet. And coming out of Palace 3 for simpoldood, his time is 35 minutes and 56 seconds. That's an 18-second lead now for Projet at the halfway point.
Yeah, Simple actually did get a drop on that final red iron knuckle, but it was a pea bag. He would have much rather had a jar there, which would have eliminated any sort of refill after the Rebo fight.
You see, Dan, in this game, when you want a pea bag drop, the game gives you a red jar drop. And when you want a red jar drop, the game gives you a pea bag drop because, Dan, the game knows.
Oh, the game always knows. DFTG.
Yep.
Don't forget the glove.
All right, so here we go. This is everybody's favorite town in the game, the town of Nabruru, because it's home to everybody's favorite spell. And why don't you go over this, Dan? What's so special about the spell?
Oh, it's the best spell on the game. By far the most useful. By far the most used. Everyone uses it for every other screen, pretty much. I mean, you can't cast it on every single screen, but I mean, if it was possible, you would just keep this spell on all the time because it does so much damage and it's so amazing.
Yes, the fire spell. But you know what? I wouldn't care about the fire spell except that the woman's 20 feet from the fountain. Come on! She's 20 feet from the fountain.
Maybe the fountain's filled with bird poop and she just wants Link to clean it up a little bit before she gets the water. That's a good one, Dan. No one ever thought of that one. That was pretty good, Dan. Well played. So anyways, people will not use the fire spell very much. There's one screen coming up where you may see people use the fire spell, which is very useful because it's the only way to kill Tektites and Zoras. And sometimes people use it against Dark Link just for bonus swag points. It's extra swag points to use it against Thunderbird.
Oh, yeah.
It actually kind of despawns some of Thunderbird's fireballs. It's actually
Really?
kind of a bizarre fight when you do it. and I gotta say, that was not my original comment, the bird poop. The last race I commentated on, someone else mentioned that.
I see. Gotcha. All right, so here comes what we like to call the Dazzle Walk. So Projet's going to, I think he only took one encounter, so not too bad for Projet yet. So what he's going to do, he's going to get to this part of the maze, he's going to rescue a child. Now, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either ferry him to pick it up, which is what most people do, or you can take care of this orange Stalfos and then pick up your child. But please, don't! Projet went until the absolute last second, putting me on edge. What I always like to say is, please don't rescue the child without taking care of the orange Stalfos, because he's going to go to town on you and take away your health.
Yeah, I think that was for the fans right there.
It had to be, because
that was pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Projet and simpoldood waiting a little less longer than Projet did, but in the end he does cast the fairy spell to pick up the child. Saves on the animation, of course, and you don't have to worry about taking damage against the orange Stalfos.
So here's the Dazzle Walk you were talking about. JN picked up his 1-up. And then
got a fairy and gets a break. Let's see if he can get the skips. I want to say he got it. We'll find out in a moment.
With that pause buffer, he got this.
Yes, he did. Let's see if he can get the second one coming into Darunia Town. No jukes. Projet is 2 for 2.
Yeah, so you pick up your 1-up, your Link doll, a doll of yourself. And then you wait on that tile. Ooh, Simple might not have got that skip.
Well, we'll find out if he did or
have
not.
to wait.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
So that's going to give Projet an even bigger lead. Does get it on the second try, but every second on the clock is ticking away for simpoldood. Projet's going to have a huge lead as he does the fairy claws to get down the chimney in order to pick up the second and final sword ability. Not quite as OP as the first one. This is the upward sword stab.
Yeah, Simple, easy peasy, got the second skip. But the Dazzle Walk, you wait on that specific tile until the music plays to the correct spot. And then, oh, look at Simple with the really bright Link.
Yeah, the white lights. Tries for the super jump, but simpoldood is unable to do it, so he goes ahead and turns into a fairy, which is the safe move to turn yourself into fairy to go down the chimney, the fairy claws strats.
I was just mesmerized by that. I couldn't get the Dazzle Walk.
Yeah. So the second thing you're going to do is that kid that you just rescued, Projet returns it to the old woman. They return it to the rightful family. And in return, they're going to get everybody's favorite 80s song, The Reflex. Well, that's what it's called in the FDS version. It's the Reflect spell. And what the Reflect spell does is it is the only way to take care of Wizrobes, and you have to have it in order to beat the boss of the next palace, Karok.
Yeah, Karok, by far the most scripted fight in the game, by far the easiest and least RNG heavy.
Least RNG heavy? I don't know about that, Dan.
The least.
We'll see. I'll explain when we get to that part of the game why RNG is a major factor that'll be coming up against Karok. Projet is now out of Darunia town, and we're going to go ahead, and Projet does get the third encounter skip, and so he's now 3 for 3. Can he get the fourth and final one before making the walk back to the maze? Yes, he can, boy. Projet just pouring it on right now.
Those were absolutely beautiful patterns. The only hiccup that JN has had so far is he got one encounter, one random walk on the way to the maze.
And so far, so good, as he is able to slink his way through the forest, and he's got one more encounter, and perfect walk!
Using those pause buffers to his advantage and being a little bit patient, he knew exactly where those encounters were going to spawn, and he took advantage of how they moved. What a thing of beauty.
Simple had a little bit of trouble with his encounter skips, but does finally manage able to get that, so he's able to get all of his encounter skips. Projet picks up his 7th magic container now, and of course you got to take the long way in the maze, because if you take the shortcut, you go through all these fixed encounters, and that's just going to waste time. And simpoldood, nice jukes there to go around the encounters and get through the rest of it encounter free. Nicely done by Simple.
That is high-level play to a T right there. My word. Both these guys just inherently, I mean, there's a certain step counter through this part of Eastern Hyrule where the encounters spawn, and I guarantee they're not counting each and every step. They just kind of know instinctively, okay, they're going to spawn when I reach this tile, and I have to pause and read and then react. And wow, that was incredible.
Yes, that was incredible. He was pulling his inner Todd Gurley doing those moves with simpoldood. But enough about football. It's time for the 4th palace of the game. This is the Maze Palace. The item in the Maze Palace are the boots. These boots are made for walking, and what they make you do is walk on certain water tiles, and you need them in order to get to the 5th palace of the game. But more importantly, Dan, you know what it's time for?
I have no idea.
It is time for the final Maze Palace Lava Diving Competition of 2017. Remember those lives that these players... Come on, Dan. Every time I do commentary, you should know that this is what they're going to be doing. What we mean by that is Projet now, because he hasn't taken any... deaths, he can take all 3 death abuses if he so chooses, if he gets a red jar. And now he's just going to go ahead and take this death abuse. That's a traditional dive there, where you stab against the platform and take your intentional death, which saves time. And because Projet didn't take any deaths, you can take all 3 if you want to. I give that a solid 8.
Simple going jumpless over that pit.
That's always dangerous to do.
Not too tough of a jump to make, to be honest, but exceedingly dangerous. It's such a huge time loss if you miss that.
Oh, absolutely. Let's see what Simple decides to do. He'll get the red jar, and because he took a death, he's not going to take this death abuse right here. So I would imagine he'll take the death abuses on screens 2 and 3. Meanwhile, Projet has picked up his boots, which he'll be able to use to get to the 5th palace.
And honestly, Simple could have taken the death abuse right there. Would have saved himself a couple seconds. I mean, it's not all that significant of a time gain to take a death abuse there. It's more for the magic refill, so that you can...
Correct. But he did get a red jar, so that's why he didn't take it there. I bet if he didn't get the red jar spawn, he would have taken the death.
Yeah, and Simple, with how he does his leveling, he's going to be taking Magic 8 and completely refilling his magic about 2 screens before Thunderbird. And it's pretty consistent with how he does it, with the enemies that he kills and what he comes out of Palace 6 at on experience. So technically he could take all 3 and be just fine, but it's always good to have a little bit of leeway, especially in Valley of Death, because those flying MOAs, I mean, they're a little bit more predictable than bots, but still,
Simple, you got to be careful right there. He almost took a death against that red skeleton, and nice dive there by Simple Dude with the backwards beam. I'd give him an 8.5 for that one. I didn't see if he went off the bubble, because I was trying to look at the enemy list to see what those enemies are called. Those Parutamus. Yes, I say that 3 times fast. That's what those red skeleton enemies are in that room called. Did he go off the bubble? Well, if he did go off the bubble, I'm going to have to look at the replay. Now, if he went off the bubble and he did that dive, that's a 10.
Yes, he went off the skull bubble, but I would give that 1.5 point deduction, actually, because it cost him a little bit of time from bouncing on that skull bubble.
Well, that's true, but yeah, if that's the case, because of course he does a dive like that while I'm looking at the enemy lists. But yeah, I give him a 10 then. That's a perfect dive to do a backward flip off the bubble with the beam sword. Yeah, that's swag points for Simple Dude.
So JN had a small amount of problems in the first Minecraft room. He's coming up on the second one right now. And you want to down stab and crouching stab in a certain way to make this little staircase. And he actually hit one incorrectly on his first try there. But second one in this palace, perfectly executed. So only about a 0.4 seconds lost for JN on that very first Minecraft room.
Is that what you call it, the Minecraft room?
Yes.
And I can understand why you would call it that, yes.
I called it the Tetris room once, but Enchantress of Numbers took issue with that, because it's definitely not Tetris.
Well, I can understand. I mean, Tetris is the grandmaster Tetris player that I know, and she's really good at what she does. And I'll give Projet an 8.5 of that one, because he kept his beam sword, and this time he stuck the landing with his sword beam. Last time he went above the platform.
God. I sincerely hope that you grade their poses when we get the spell.
Oh yeah, the spell poses. I've only done, this is only my 3rd race so far this season, and I've actually forgot about doing the poses when we get to the town of Kasuto. So yes, we'll keep that in mind, and we'll let the audience decide about the poses when we get there as well. Now, it's more serious matter here. This next part of the dungeon is brought to you by the letters RNG. Why? Because the boss is Karok, and contrary to what you said, Dan, there is a lot of RNG in this boss, because if Karok decides not to cooperate and he spawns, on top of you or away from the beams, this could be a long fight for Projet, and if Simple Dude, gets luckier, he could gain some time. First hit's always for free, though.
First hit's for free. Looks like a pretty good start.
That's twice he's been spawning on top of him. He's got to use his life here. He's got to be really careful.
Use the shield spell so that
nice job.
You don't get killed. 4 spawns on top of you will kill you. And that was a fairly typical, maybe better than average Karok fight for Projet.
putting the 4th crystal in. Projet's time is 49 minutes and 28 seconds. Let's see. Simple is going to need a really good Karak fight. The pressure's on right now. Gets the first hit, of course. Trying to buy a few extra hits, just not coming for simpoldood right now. But whoa, nice finish.
I would call those two fights fairly even. Maybe a half second to a second in favor of simpoldood.
50-01, it's 33 seconds.
For the most part, they were pretty even. Now here's a pretty big time portion of execution coming up.
Yes, the Eco Key. Yes, the Eco Key here in the 5th Palace, Palace on the Sea, where they'll be picking up the flute, or as you may like to call it, Dan, the plunger, or the plumber's helper, because that's what it looks like. Let's see if Projet's able to pull off this Eco Key move, do the damage boost off the bubble. He misses completely! And this could give simpoldood a chance to gain some time.
Yeah, that'll be a bit of a time gain, not just because of the miss, but now he's going to have to try to set up a level up to get his magic to level 4, and so that he can cast jump in that key room.
Alright, so let's see. Simpoldood, if he can convert on this, now how much of a time game is it doing the Eco Key as opposed to the traditional way? Was it 15 seconds?
I honestly don't know. You would have to
Simpoldood's perfect. He's got the Eco Key boost, so that's a critical time save there for simpoldood.
Ask Rep.
Yeah, Rep would know. Absolutely. Anyways, what the flute does is a couple of things. Number one, it is used to gain access to the 6th palace of the game, and it's also used to ward off the River Devil that blocks your progress going towards that 6th palace.
See, JN, this is the big part. This is the big time waste. JN's trying to get these Magos to spawn. They're worth 200.
There it is.
Now he got his magic refill and he can cast jump, and Simple is basically right on his heels now.
Wow, that 33-second lead Projet had as evaporated, and this block room is not cooperating. If this block room cooperates for simpoldood, and the Kememo Tumbo having a few words after taking that key, not in my house. Ho ho ho! As Projet and simpoldood actually takes the lead by a split second.
Little bit of a lead. What a race.
Unbelievable.
Both of them had fairly unfavorable spawns for those blocks, but simpoldood was able to get out of there a little bit more cleanly after he picked up the key. He didn't go into concussion protocol nearly as many times as Projet did.
Right. Anyways, to get to Magic 5 and Life 5, it's 800 points to Life 5, 1,200 points to Magic 5. You want to have 700 points going into the Guma fight because he's worth 500 points. Because you want to have that 9,000 experience points in order to go on a shopping spree of level ups. Projet does take the lead back from simpoldood, but yeah, that 33-second lead is gone.
Yeah, it's basically a dead heat right now. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, 4 or 5 seconds here or there in this game, especially with the River Dance coming up, this is nothing. This is tied.
Yep. Projet did get 5 seconds back from simpoldood, so Projet is back in the lead. But yeah, this is a ball game, folks. It could come down to the wire. I'd love to see that happen between these two fine world record holders of this category.
Yeah, and part of that time gain from Projet was simply the fact that he took his Magic 4 earlier, and that animation, that noise, that music, fanfare that you hear when you level up takes a couple seconds, and then simpoldood a little bit later had to do the same thing.
Yep, you are correct, and both of these players have their flute coming out of here, both of them using the fairy spell to pick it up in order to avoid the animation, and both of these players had the exact same amount of magic and the same amount of life as well.
Yeah, and 844 is exactly where you want to be. Actually, interesting to note that Missed Eco Key will make Projet change his leveling slightly from what he normally does. I'm pretty sure he normally comes out of this palace at 834 and then levels up in such a way that he can take a magic level in Palace 6 so that he can cast Fairy to pick up the Croce. And then he takes a magic level later and then has full magic so that he can get his 2 fairy casts and a jump cast versus Barbayan. So, and then he finishes at 877 typically.
Right.
So this is going to be a little bit different from what he is used to. We'll see if that plays a factor in the race.
Yeah, typically these players will either go 877 at the end or 886. Those are the typical level ups that you see these runners go for to finish things up. Simple Dude gets his red jar. And by the way, that's one of 3 palaces that have guaranteed red jars. Palaces 1, 2, and 5, wherever there's statues or hidden blocks that have red jar chances. In those 3 palaces, it's a 100% guarantee you're going to get that red jar.
Yeah, and Palace 3, at that one spot, it's 99% chance to always get an Iron Knuckle. So you just don't go for it.
Precisely.
Everything else is 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on PB pace in the Great Palace, there's one statue that is always going to give you a Bird Knight. It'll never give you a jar. Yeah,
you'll see that when we get to the Great Palace later on, probably about 15 minutes from now. Projet, he's good on experience points. He'll have no trouble getting to the 9,000, ending Palace 5. He just has to make sure that he doesn't take a death to Guma. Even on Life 4, and even if you have that shield spell up, Guma packs quite a punch.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Shield spell plus a life cast. I think Guma takes 3 hits to kill you at least, maybe 4. And by the time he gets that much damage in, you can react and cast life. We'll see if either of these guys goes for the jackhammer against Guma and makes that fight a little bit quicker.
Projet's gained a little bit more time on Simple. Now it's about a 7-second lead as they entered out of that key screen right there. So still pretty close between these two, but yeah, Projet, in spite of the little hiccups he had early part of this level 5 here with the missed eco key and having trouble with the Magos, he's kept his composure. He hasn't let it get to him, and he's still leading. Let's see how he does against Guma.
Yep, solid combat as always from these two.
Nice fight. Guma had no chance right there. That was brilliantly done by Projet.
Yeah, it looked like JN got 2 or 3 hits with the jackhammer, whereas Simple didn't get any on a jackhammer. A little bit quicker fight from Projet.
And a little bit less of a refill as well. So yeah, great job by Projet. Good fight by Simple Dude. But yeah, the Projet's going to have about a 10-second lead on Simple Dude here. Yep, 10 seconds. With the fairy spell, he'll go ahead and pick up his 7th heart container. He's got to be careful not to soft lock. He does not. He still has 300 experience points to spare. What we mean by a soft lock is when you level up, when you get to the amount of experience points necessary to level up. If you level up at the exact same time that you leave the screen either turns black or blue, the music continues to play, and there's nothing else you can do, you have soft lock. This river dance is crucial, and Jan doesn't get it!
Yep, just a little bit of a bad spawn there.
Let's see if Simple Dude gets it. He gets it.
Exactly what he wanted to see.
And that will put Simple Dude back in the lead.
Yep, these Wilson screens, you have to backtrack ever so slightly every single time to dodge these rocks. They can't be blocked. I believe the Wilson enemies can be killed with the Thunder spell, but of course, these guys don't have that spell right now.
Yeah, that's the only way you can get rid of them, because I don't even think the jump spell, I don't think you can get high enough to take them down.
Honestly, I've never tried. I don't know if the sword can actually damage these things.
So yeah, Projet right now is at 866. Simple Dude's currently at 864?
What? Interesting.
He's at 864. I think he skipped a spell. It looks like he skipped a spell.
Yeah, he skipped a couple levels. Maybe he's well aware of exactly where JN is, and those couple of fanfares, skipping them and skipping that You know, that
may
animation.
be the reason. I bet you that's the reason why he decided to skip. He felt he was behind and needed to do that. This is the screen, by the way. This is the screen where you're going to see that fire spell. Simple Dude making it work for him. He can get up to 150 points. Boy, Tech, though, doesn't care. Did you see he jumped right over it? Then Simple Dude finally got him. Projet does the other strat that you might see players use on the screen. That's use the fairy spell.
Yeah, more so than the XP, because Simple skipped all the way up to the next at 9,000, and he's going to take that at the gem in Palace 6. He wanted to see a red jar. If he would have got a red jar, he wouldn't have to talk to a magic lady in New Kasuto to fill up his magic and then be able to cast the spell.
So that'll cost Simple Dude a few seconds of the scene. So there's 3 things to do here in the hidden town of New Kasuto. Gonna get the last magic container, the spell, and the magical key. But first, you're going to get the spell first. Now, the spell does a couple of things. 1, it enables you to get the magic key at the end of town. Number 2, especially in Valley of Death, you're going to see people use the spell to turn these difficult enemies into almost harmless bots. Almost. And the
Mostly
third thing,
harmless.
Yeah, mostly. Yep. Last magic container of the game is the final thing that you're going to pick up. Now, you see the magic container first, but people will pick that up last because they want to pick up that magic container when their magic is at its lowest. Because when they pick up that final magic container, and Simple Dude doesn't even do a pose. 0.
Yeah, that's like -4 out of 10 right there. Cast it as soon as he went on the screen, didn't even wait till he was near the...
Whoa! Perfect! He does a twist with the beam sword and he lands right on the door. 10.
I'm going to give a 9.5.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know what would constitute a 10, but whatever.
Anyways, there is the magic key for both of these players. The final bit on the agenda here in Kasuto is to get the 8th magic container. Now, little known fact for those of you who may have never played Zelda 2, in order to get the Thunder Spell, you have to have all 8 magic containers. And of course, you have to have the Thunder Spell in order to put a scratch on Thunderbird. Without it, you're out of luck.
Yeah, and it just so happens to work out perfectly at Magic 6. Cast Spell, and then cast Fairy twice, and you're completely out of magic. But then you pick up this magic container on the very last screen, and oh yay, you're completely full. Ready to go into Palace number 6.
Simple Dude gets out of town at 1:02:02. We'll see where Projet is. He's going to be roughly 10 seconds or so. 11 seconds behind Simple Dude. This is still a race, ladies and gentlemen. It's not over yet. Hold on to your hats.
Oh yeah, VOD can definitely troll everybody. Don't ask Cantaloupe about that.
Right. Yeah, and Simple Dude's able to get through these Tektites with very little problem. Let's see how Projet does. Simple Dude trying to get out of this encounter. He couldn't. Could give a chance for Projet to take the lead back.
Yikes, Simple on almost zombie strats here.
And Projet getting the same bad luck Simple Dude getting.
Simple was able to slink past the second encounter that spawned, though.
This could be critical. Projet cannot take... Yep, he gets... No! I thought he was going to make it. He gets hit on the very last tile, and Simple Dude's going to increase his lead going into Palace 6, 3-Eye Rock Palace.
Yeah, that's about a 6-second gain right there.
So we're looking at about 20 seconds now for Simple Dude. And he's got to hope that that heavy encounter doesn't hit him on the way, and it just doesn't. Ooh, that was close.
Alright, so off to Palace 6.
Gonna pick up that cross, which is used in order to see the flying moas that are hidden within the old town of Kasuto and, of course, Valley of Death. So while it's not required to complete the game, it's, of course, required in this category. And you get to that old town of Kasuto, it's like, hey, what just hit me? Well, when you have that cross, you'll know exactly what just hit you.
JN using jump strats to get over that first pit. Simple made that 4-tile wide jump with no problem. And one more with a little toe stub.
You gotta be careful in this room here that's got false floors, just like in Castlevania 2. If you fall through those false floors, you're gonna lose a lot of time, and Simple Dude gets the red jar. Nice swag move to pick it up. Perfect room for him.
Yes, do not fall into the Canadian pit, as it is so lovingly called.
Yes, indeed. And Magic 7 for Projet, so it looks like he'll have a decision to make, and I think he is going to go ahead and do what he normally does, 8-7-7. Good Reba Knack fight right there by simpoldood. There's 2 Reba Knack rematch fights within this palace as simpoldood picks up the cross. Let's see how Projet does. Pressure's on him to have a good fight.
Yeah, there are 2 Reba fights in this palace. Since you're at attack 8, you're a little bit more aggressive with them. You start the fight a little bit farther towards the right of the screen and try to get a couple stabs and down stabs in to dismount from the horse, and then it's just 2 stabs to finish off the Iron Knuckle once he dismounts, instead of the normal Palace 3 strat where you stand on a particular tile, 1.5 tile right of center, let Reba pass you, and then you can down stab him on the left side of the screen and he'll just keep taking damage continuously.
Yep, that is the goal. Alright, so simpoldood keeping his lead right now. Let's see if he's able to get that swag ceiling walk coming up.
Nah.
Nope.
Yeah, you have to hit your head on the exact correct pixel while having full momentum going to the right to hit that ceiling walk just right. It doesn't really save too much time, just a couple seconds, but it looks cool, I guess.
And Projet gets it successfully.
So JN is still doing 8-7-7, but typically I believe he would be taking his Magic 7 in this room off these flying head enemy things.
Yes, those Ra statues, or the Sine Curve statues as people like to call them as well, using the fairy spell. Again, this is a required use of the fairy spell across this very large lava pit with these flying bubbles trying to take away your magic.
Oh, Unos. That is not out of bounds.
And now Projet making his trek across that same lava pit as simpoldood is preparing to fight Reba Knack for the 2nd time here in the 6th palace. Let's see how he does.
And that's the quick dismount that you want. He got a couple of bad beams and took a hit, but fairly quick fight.
All right, let's see how Projet does. Again, this is a very close race. This is roughly a 15-second race. We'll find out exactly what the deficit is coming out of the Barba fight, which is simpoldood is about to face off Projet, a masterful Reba Knack fight right there. 700 points is the value of the monster, this Barba right here, this very tall dragon simpoldood. Let's see what kind of strat he's going to do. He's going to go for the jackhammer, or is he going to go for the safe 1 cycle? Go for the jackhammer.
Jackhammer.
Nicely done. Perfect fight.
Wow.
There it is. Very cool.
The balls on that guy must be the size of grapefruits. Holy cow. Jumpless
107. 107.45 for simpoldood. Let's see what Projet. He's going for the jackhammer. Nailed it. Nailed it. Perfect fight for Projet as well. So let's see what his time is. Again, it was 107.45 for simpoldood. Projet is at 108.04. It's 19 seconds. It is still anybody's game, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, several skips coming up in Valley of Death. If you miss one, you're in a lot of trouble, because these encounters seem to... Now, I'm not fully sure about this, but I've played the game enough that these encounters seem to follow a fairly simple pattern if you stop and wait on the exact tile next to these forced encounters, and they'll just come right at you. But if you walk into an encounter and have to walk back, they will start random walking all over the place, and your timing, you have to be really patient and really use your pause buffering to actually skip these forced encounters. And you never ever want to go through these things because they're tough. I believe they require the jump spell. I mean, it's very, very rare that a speedrunner ever goes through these.
No, you will never see. Yeah, I know what you're talking about because I think the Phantom race that I did, yes, it was a Phantom race because I thought I was calling the race and I was on the wrong commentator's channel. But I do remember exactly what race you were talking about because it was against you, Danage. Wasn't your race like 3 seconds difference or something like that, the actual race? Not the one that you did afterwards. I'm talking the actual tournament race, Dan.
I believe that first one was about 8 seconds, and then our exhibition race was a 3-second difference.
And simpoldood does get the skip. The pressure is going to be on Projet to get that same skip, but simpoldood does take an encounter, so if Projet's able to get through cleanly, he could gain some time on Simple.
Yeah, it's pretty darn rare to get through clean through VOD, because the
Projet had to work a little bit.
The encounters always spawn right next to you, and Simple.
Nope, Simple got back spawn. That was a good effort though by simpoldood. Let's see, Projet needs this. He's got it.
Actually saved one encounter with that walk and got through right there. JN takes one extra encounter, but he won't have to go onto that force screen and then back off.
Correct. He just needs to get through the skip perfectly to keep the deficit where it is. He's got it. All right, here comes our good old Scorpion here. Nice move to get by it. Perfectly done by Simple.
That was really good patience by JN. Most runners would have just hit up as soon as they saw the encounter spawn happen, and would have gone right into the forced encounter. And kind of
good value death by simpoldood right here. This is exactly how you're to play it. Simpoldood played it perfectly.
And Simple, without beam strats there, taking the spell.
Projet, he gets through Scorpion, no problem at all either, so this is a critical skip. JN needs it. He got it. And it's 111.09. Yep, 111.09 as the beams fall in the Great Palace. And the Great Palace, we're going to see the toughest challenges yet. Spicy chickens, Focas, and of course, Scott Bicula. Oh, boy!
Yeah, JN without beams right there, instead of taking spell strats, used upstab and downstab, and it actually cost him a few seconds. So simpoldood gained a little bit more time right there.
It's a 27-second lead for simpoldood coming into the beams lowered in Great Palace. So Projet's got his work cut out right now. It would take a death right now for, in my opinion, for Projet to catch up. And with only having life 4, simpoldood's more prone to taking a death because these enemies here in Great Palace, they pack quite a bit of punch. Even when you're on life 8, they pack a lot of a punch.
Yeah, especially contact damage from any Bird Knight. The sword beam damage from Bird Knights aren't all that significant, but contact damage is pretty brutal, especially at lower level life. I know on life 1 they do over 7 bars of damage if you get contacted.
7 bars of damage on life 1. Yikes. And some of these players do life 1 categories, do they not?
Possibly.
Like 811, 181. Look at gotta be careful. That red Bird Knight just gave simpoldood the business right there, and his life is getting very low now, and now his magic is at 0.
Yeah.
It's gonna give Projet an opening.
The aggressive pattern from that first red Bird Knight you encounter.
Now, interesting. Projet did not take life 7. He's doing the same thing that simpoldood. He knows he doesn't want to do that animation. Time is of the essence, so I don't blame him for not taking life 7 here.
JN got a pretty aggressive pattern as well. Chad is calling for background change. Are you the one that's doing that stuff?
I'm not. No. Well, there's magic. Well, there's magic 8 for simpoldood, and that's a great time to get that experience points because that's going to refill him on magic. Here he is in the second chicken and waffles room, as some people like to call it. And here he is, folks, Scott Bicula. Oh boy. And that's a perfect room right there by Simple Boy. He did that beautifully. He keeps his lead.
Yes, nicely done. JN going without shield.
Yeah, he's pushing it, and I don't blame him. He knows he's got to go for it, but one more hit, and he's taking it. Oh, he gets through.
The clutch. Yeah, right
there. Very clutch.
Contact damage from Bicula would have killed him, but he took a sword beam instead. So he's got a half bar left.
That's amazing. So, and simpoldood down to his last bit of it, he takes a death.
Well, that's just a life and magic refill. He's perfectly fine right now. Twice in a row getting the aggressive pattern from Blue Bird Knight.
But he's got to be careful. This is his last life. If he game overs here, it's curtains for simpoldood.
It would be,
and
yes.
Projet's caught up. He's definitely gained several seconds, but careful on Projet's side. His life level is very low himself, so he's got to make sure he gets through this spicy chicken here without taking damage. Does he have enough to cast Fairy? He does! He does, so as long as he doesn't take a hit, he'll be alright.
Yeah, he's going to Death Abuse in the lava room.
simpoldood will not be able to take that Death Abuse.
That Death Abuse, though, costs a couple seconds.
Correct.
That's enough for simpoldood to pull ahead.
Oh, yeah, it will be.
Especially with, JN still does cast Jump against Thunderbird, which helps him kill the enemy a little bit faster.
Link. I'm telling you, this could come down to Dark Link, the way this is going right now. simpoldood enters this screen at 1:15:13. Now, with Magic 8, though, he can cast all the goodies, whereas Projet can't. Thunder, Shield, Jump, and Reflect. And here comes the Thunderbird fight right now. The difference is 13 seconds right now. Let's see what happens here. Perfect Thunderbird fight by simpoldood. The pressure's on Projet. So unless Dark Link really decides to beat Dark Link against simpoldood, it looks like he could be repeating as, a great Thunderbird fight by Projet. Gonna come down to Dark Link. So unless Dark Link's being Dark Link, simpoldood looks like he may be capturing this title. Wow. Here we go, folks.
Guys, just laying it on the line. Awesome races, awesome execution.
8 hits.
And Dark Link is a lot of execution too.
There's 3.
You gotta know when to
4,
wait and do a standing stab and when to do your jumping stab.
8. And there it is, the final hit of Dark Link.
Takes it.
And simpoldood,
absolutely brilliant Dark Link fight.
A winner, and still Zelda 2 All Keys Tournament champion, simpoldood. Projet finishing right behind
as well.
A 14-second race between the two. Give it up for both of these runners. They put on a show. And Dan, what did you say the time was going to be? Didn't you say 1:16:08 coming into this? I think you got it right on the nose. That was amazing how you called the time. I think you did. We will have to look back at that, but I think you called it exactly. I'm pretty sure you did. You called a 1:16:0 something. That was amazing.
I think I called 1:16:21 for JN.
Wow. I'll have to listen to your pre-game notes, but I think you nailed these times. That's amazing, Dan. But anyways, yes, this is a great race, and I'll tell you what, it could have gone either way. Projet gained a lot of time on simpoldood in Great Palace. It was just too big of a deficit. I mean, he was down by about 30 seconds, and he cut half of that in Great Palace right there, but there you go. I mean, the difference was literally, if you look at these times, an eco key.
Yeah, the eco key was a big swing, and not just the eco key, but having to find a Mago, a convenient Mago to kill and get that magic level up, so that he could cast Jump in the key room. That was the swing of the race, and then the River Dance just kind of extended that lead for Simple.
Yep, and we do have simpoldood in the commentator's booth with us. simpoldood, congratulations. You are still the champion of the Zelda 2 All Keys tournament, and you came from behind. How are you feeling, my friend?
I still feel shaky and nervous, but feels good to win.
Absolutely. I mean, you were trailing for a good chunk of this race. Projet had as much of a 30-second lead on you. In fact, he had a 30-second lead on you going into Palace 5. But Palace 5 was where the race changed because of two things. Number one, you getting the eco key, Projet missing the eco key, and then he lost more time as he was trying to farm off a Mago to make up for some lost experience points, and that cost even more time. And when you got to the Kembe Moatumbo room, you know, the fiery Moa where you pick up that key, it was a tie going out of that room.
Oh, wow.
And then the other difference, you were able to get River Dance, and Projet did not. And 14 seconds was the difference. This was a close race. This was a great race.
Yeah, thanks for Speed Gaming for restreaming, and you guys for commentating. Yeah, my P1 was kind of sucked. Mainly because I lost Beam Sword right outside before I even entered the palace. Kind of slowed down the whole palace. But yeah, it feels good to come from behind.
Yeah, you took that early death, and you hung right in there. I mean, you never were behind by more than 30 seconds. I mean, Projet was getting all the encounter luck in the world, but after Palace 5, that encounter luck reversed. It just reversed right then, and then you just took the race from there. Projan's Great Palace was really, really good. I mean, he shaved about half of your lead in that alone, but just wasn't enough this time.
Yeah, and I had life 4 in that one death. And,
yeah, you knew you were behind, so you knew you had to take some chances regarding no animation. So you, instead of going with your traditional 886, you were hanging on an 884.
Yeah.
Yeah, Simple. Were you watching JN stream, or did you just kind of know on instinct that you kind of had a rough Palace 1 and sort of a rough Death Mountain, to be honest, and you just instinctively knew, JN is a top-tier player. He's right behind me. He's probably ahead by now. Did that sway your decision-making into going 884?
Yeah, after Palace 1, I was watching his stream because I wanted to know what I can do to cut that lead. But yeah, 884 definitely, that made my decision because I was behind.
All right, so JN is in here too. JN, thoughts on the race? No?
Well, I tell you what, Projet, this was a very, very good race between the two of you, and for much of this race, you had the lead on simpoldood. In fact, you were up by as much as 30 seconds at one point, but go over Palace 5 with us.
Is he muted?
Well, he's in the commentary channel, but I can't hear him.
No, I can't hear him either.
All right, then, Simple. You're the star of the show. You are the champ. Anything else that you think kind of swung the race in your favor? Your return to the maze was exceptional, but the thing is, Jan had the exact same walk. You guys both went encounter free. just nuts.
Yeah, I think P5 with the eco key. I think that was the one that did it.
I mean, yeah, I have to agree. I mean, Palace 5, you literally, I mean, he kept his lead going out of Palace 5, did Projet, but you cut about 20 seconds more than 20 seconds out of the lead he had going into it as opposed to coming out of it. I mean, you could look at a lot of different things. You could look at Palace 5, you could look at Riverdance, you could look at the Valley of Death, you could look at a lot of different things, but in the end, you got a little bit luckier when it counted the most, simpoldood. I mean, you didn't let that death in Palace 1 phase you at all. I mean, you kept it going, you kept doing what you're supposed to be doing, and your time was just good enough this time around. So, again, congratulations. You won yet again in the Zelda 2 All Keys tournament, and what can I say? You're the best in the business right now, and until somebody unseats you, you keep that title.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and tell you what, great race, and good luck to you guys next year, because I'm sure we will be bringing this tournament once again, and hopefully we will see you guys again next year.
Yep, see you next year, and without Simple, he will just take on the Grand National Champion or something like that.
Yeah,
Since
something
you've
like
already
that.
won it 3 times in a row, I mean, come on.
Yep, he is. He has three-peated indeed. He has won 3 years in a row the 100% All Keys tournament here in Zelda 2. So again, congratulations to simpoldood, and also congratulations to Projet. And they both put up an exciting race, and I didn't expect this to be any different. I knew this was going to be close the entire way, and the leads just kept going back and forth, starting from Palace 5 on. Could have gone either way. Simpoldood coming out on top. So again, congratulations to him for winning the Zelda 2 championship. I think that's going to about do it for us, Dan.
All right. I got nothing to add.
What I do want to do is go over the rest of the schedule, because coming up next here on Speed Gaming, we've got Super Mario Odyssey. We've got that tournament going on. Then we have on Speed Gaming 2, that are at 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, we've got more Link to the Past randomizer for you. Then on Speed Gaming 3, that's happening. It looks like it's happening right now. We've got the RTA Japan Marathon, in Japan Marathon. And then also we have for you on Speed Gaming 4, that's happening at 7 p.m. Eastern, Super Mario 64. So a lot of great excitement coming your way here on the Speed Gaming family of channels. So that's going to do it for us. On behalf of our 2 racers tonight, Projet and simpoldood, our champion, on behalf of Fiesel and his Speed Gaming Network, and on behalf of my commentator partner, Dan H., this is LOZ Cards Fan 23 signing off. Have yourselves a great 2018, and we will see you again next year for the Zelda 2 100% all keys tournament. Take care, everybody.